Hey everyone. If you're feeling a little overwhelmed with all the AI news lately, well, you're definitely not alone.
Yeah, February 2025 has been wild. So many new models.
It feels like every company is just throwing money at AI infrastructure.
And don't even get me started on the job market.
Yeah, things are getting interesting, to say the least.
Yeah.
But that's why you sent us this mountain of articles, research summaries, even some job postings.
Right. Let's try to figure out what you need to know.
Exactly. So let's just dive right in. What do you think?
Sounds good.
Okay, so first up, the one everyone's talking about, ChatGPT 4.5 codename Orion.
I'm seeing that everywhere.
I've had some time to play around with it, and I have to say, it feels so much more natural.
Oh, yeah?
Remember how those early chatbots sounded so robotic? This is a huge leap.
It really is. That
Yeah.
natural feel you're noticing
Mm.
that comes from something called scaled up training.
Ah, okay.
Basically, they're feeding even more data into the model
I see.
so it can learn more nuanced patterns of human language.
So it's getting better at mimicking us.
Exactly. But it's important to remember that even with these advancements, ChatGPT, it's still a non-reasoning model.
Okay, so it's really good at sounding like us, but not necessarily thinking like us.
Right. It's a master of mimicry,
Yeah,
but not quite a thinker in the human sense.
got it. But speaking of thinking, you mentioned that Claude 3.7 is taking a different approach.
Yeah. Claude 3.7 uses a hybrid reasoning model,
Okay.
which means it can handle more complex tasks,
Yeah.
things that require logical deduction, not just pattern recognition.
So if ChatGPT is the smooth talker, Claude's the logician.
That's a great way to put it.
Mhm.
And to make this reasoning process a little less mysterious, they've added this feature called Sonnet.
Interesting.
You can actually choose between getting a quick answer,
Mm.
or you can see Claude's step-by-step thought process,
Oh, wow.
so you can understand how it reached its conclusion.
That's really cool. It's like being able to peek behind the curtain,
Exactly.
see the wizard at work. And get this, they've also integrated Claude with GitHub.
Now that's huge.
Huge for coders, right?
Yeah.
Imagine being able to feed your entire code repository to an AI that can analyze it, debug it, even generate new code.
It's really changing how we work. And speaking of changing the game, let's talk about DeepSeek.
Yeah, they didn't release a new model this time around,
No,
but they did drop some major infrastructure news.
big news. Everyone's talking about it.
Their partnership with Zoxin, a Chinese CPU maker.
Right.
They claim their new server CPUs can run DeepSeek's massive 671 billion parameter model.
Without needing GPUs.
Now, that's a big deal, right?
It is, because GPUs, or graphics processing units,
Mm-hmm.
those have been considered essential for running these giant AI models.
So this could be a game changer.
Yeah, imagine the cost savings if we don't need those expensive GPUs anymore.
And increased accessibility, too, right?
Absolutely. But of course, the big question is, can these CPUs really deliver the same level of performance?
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see. But it's definitely something to watch.
Absolutely. While those are some of the big names making headlines, there's another trend that's been picking up speed. This race towards true AI reasoning.
We're not just satisfied with chatbots anymore, huh?
Nope. We want AI that can actually think for itself.
And it looks like several companies are taking that challenge seriously.
They are. You mentioned Alibaba's QWQ Max preview in your research.
Yeah.
It seems like their answer to DeepSeek's R1 and OpenAI's rumored O1 project.
Right. But what does this focus on reasoning actually mean? What can it actually do?
Okay, so let's say you have a complex problem that needs to be solved, like optimizing a supply chain.
Hmm.
A reasoning model goes beyond just pattern recognition. It can analyze tons of data,
Okay.
identify what's relevant, and then use logic to figure out the best way to solve the problem.
So instead of just finding correlations, it's actually understanding cause and effect.
Exactly. And that's a big step towards AI that can understand the underlying relationships
Right.
and apply logic to new situations, not
Right.
just mimic human language.
That's really interesting. Another company pushing the boundaries of reasoning is Meta with their Llama 3 SWE RL70B model.
That's a mouthful.
I know, right? Can you break that down for us, non-coders?
Sure. So SWE, that stands for Software Engineering, and RL, that's reinforcement learning.
Okay.
It's kind of like training a dog with treats.
Uh-huh.
You reward good behavior, and the dog learns what actions lead to those rewards.
Interesting.
Meta's model learned by studying millions of lines of code,
Wow.
figuring out what works best. So basically, it's learning to write better code by observing how software has evolved.
It's like an AI apprentice that studied the entire history of programming.
Exactly.
That's wild.
The results are impressive.
Really?
They're saying it can solve 41% of the challenges on the SWE bench.
That's a pretty good score.
It is. It's a benchmark specifically designed to test AI's ability to solve real-world software engineering problems.
Okay, so we've got big models, small models, open source models, models focused on reasoning. It seems like the AI landscape is getting pretty complex.
It really is.
How do we as non-experts keep track of all this and figure out which models are actually performing well?
Well, that's where the arena leaderboards come in. And they're becoming really important for navigating this rapidly changing world.
Yeah.
Think of them like a constantly updated ranking system, like a billboard chart, but for AI models.
So instead of tracking top songs, it's tracking the top performing AI models.
Yeah, you've got the main arena leaderboard, which covers a wide range of abilities like language understanding and problem solving. And then you have these more specialized leaderboards, like the Web Dev Arena, which focuses specifically on AI's coding skills.
Speaking of coding skills, I noticed that Claude 3.7 is consistently at the top of that web dev leaderboard,
Makes sense.
given its focus on reasoning and the whole GitHub integration we talked about.
Not surprising at all. It's a good illustration of how these leaderboards can help us figure out which models are really excelling in specific areas.
And I mean, why should we care what a bunch of internet folks think?
Yeah, that's a fair point.
Yeah.
But the beauty of these leaderboards is that they're aggregating the evaluations of a huge community of developers, researchers, AI enthusiasts. It's a form of collective intelligence.
So it helps cut through the hype.
Right. And identifies the models that are really delivering.
Oh, it's like a massive ongoing beta test
Yeah,
where the best models rise to the top based on real-world performance.
I like that analogy. And speaking of the real world, one thing you sent over that I know is on a lot of people's minds is how this AI explosion is impacting jobs.
Right. The job market seems to be changing faster than anyone predicted.
It really is. Some of those job postings you shared,
Wild.
I know. One title that kept popping up was AI Settee Engineer.
Yeah, I know Satya has something to do with those GPUs we were talking about.
Right.
But what do these engineers actually do?
So AI Settee engineers, they're kind of like the specialized mechanics of the AI world.
Okay.
They bridge the gap between those powerful AI models and the hardware that runs them.
Okay.
So their job is to optimize the code to make sure these models run as efficiently as possible on the GPUs.
So if those Zoxin CPUs do end up taking off, would that mean we need fewer Satya engineers?
Potentially,
Hmm.
but it's still early days. GPUs are probably going to remain crucial for many AI applications.
Oh, okay. So it's something to keep an eye on.
Definitely. And speaking of things to keep an eye on, you flagged a claim from Sakana AI that really caught my attention.
Oh, yeah. They're claiming they've developed a new framework that can achieve 10 to 100 times speedups over standard PyTorch operations.
Ambitious.
That's huge, right?
Mhm.
PyTorch is like one of the most popular tools for developing AI.
It is. And if Sakana AI can deliver on that promise,
Right.
it could significantly reduce the time and cost of training and deploying large AI models.
So it's like going from dial-up to fiber optic.
Exactly. A great analogy. But speed isn't the only thing that's changing. You also sent over that job posting from Google for an AI co-scientist.
Yeah, it sounds like something out of science fiction. Is Google really creating an AI that can do scientific research?
They are definitely pushing in that direction.
Wow.
They've built a multi-agent AI system using their Gemini 2.0 model
Okay.
that acts as a virtual research partner.
So instead of just analyzing data, this AI can help you come up with research questions, design experiments,
Right.
maybe even write the papers.
It's not quite there yet with writing the whole paper,
But it's getting close.
but it can definitely assist with those tasks.
Yeah.
Imagine having an AI that can scan through millions of research articles,
Yeah.
identify promising areas of research, even suggest new hypotheses.
It's like having a superpowered research assistant.
Exactly.
That's incredible. It makes you wonder if this is how all scientific breakthroughs will be made in the future. You know, humans and AI working together.
It's a fascinating possibility. This is a perfect example of how AI isn't just about automating tasks.
Right.
It's about augmenting human capabilities.
Expanding what we're capable of.
Exactly. It's about amplifying our ability to think, create, and discover.
Yeah.
And while those are some of the more attention-grabbing headlines, let's shift gears for a minute and talk about a few under-the-radar developments that are quietly revolutionizing different fields.
Okay.
You highlighted some interesting articles about vibe coding. And it seems like this is something you were particularly curious about.
Yeah, it definitely caught my eye. It sounds almost too good to be true. Can you really build software by just vibing with an AI?
Well, it's not quite that simple,
Oh, okay.
but it's definitely a big shift in how we approach coding. Vibe coding is about harnessing the power of these advanced LLMs,
Mhm.
especially those with reasoning capabilities like Claude, to the point where you're writing very little code yourself.
So instead of getting lost in all the technical details, you're interacting with the AI at a higher level, almost like you're having a conversation.
Exactly. You describe what you want the software to do using natural language,
Mhm.
and the LLM translates that into code.
So it's like having an AI that speaks both human and computer languages.
Precisely.
That's pretty amazing. I read that Andrej Karpathy, one of the big names in AI, has fully embraced this approach.
Yeah.
He's barely even touching a keyboard anymore, just using voice commands to interact with the AI.
He's a great example of how this is becoming a reality. He just sees stuff, says stuff, runs stuff, and copy pastes stuff.
And it just works.
And it mostly just works.
Yeah.
It's a glimpse to a future where coding is much more accessible.
And less about all the technical details.
Exactly. That's the
Okay.
idea. And, you also mentioned that LLMs are poised to replace traditional OCR solutions.
Right. I have to admit that one went a little over my head.
Okay, so OCR stands for optical character recognition.
Right.
It's the technology that allows computers to read text from images or scan documents.
Like when you scan a receipt.
Exactly. It's been around for a while, but it's always been kind of clunky and error-prone.
Yeah. Anyone who's ever tried to scan a receipt knows that feeling when it doesn't quite work, right?
I know.
Yeah.
And that's what LLMs are changing. These new multimodal LLMs are blowing traditional OCR out of the water.
Wow.
Not only are they more accurate, but they're also cheaper and faster.
Yeah.
You mentioned an article about the OmniAI OCR benchmark,
Right?
and the results are clear.
Mm-hmm.
LLMs are winning across the board.
And it looks like Google's Gemini 2.0 Flash is leading the pack when it comes to price performance. But what does all this mean for the average person? Are we talking perfectly transcribed, handwritten notes and receipts that magically organize themselves?
Not quite there yet, but we're definitely headed in that direction.
Okay.
Imagine being able to instantly digitize any document,
Yeah.
search for information within images, even extract data from complex forms automatically.
That would be incredible.
It's a huge leap forward in terms of efficiency and accessibility.
Yeah.
And speaking of things that seemed impossible not too long ago, remember that article you sent about how much voice AI has improved?
Oh, yeah, I remember those days. Set a timer for processing. Processing? Did you mean set a reminder?
Oh, painful.
It was. But it sounds like things have changed
We
dramatically.
really have. One of the key breakthroughs has been something called pre-response.
Pre-response.
Yeah.
That sounds interesting. What is that exactly?
It's kind of like having an AI that can anticipate what you're going to say. It starts generating a response before you've even finished speaking
Wow.
by analyzing your speech patterns, pauses, and even predicting based on the context.
So it's like it's always trying to stay one step ahead.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And as a result, the conversation feels much more natural and fluid.
Mm.
That lag time, the delay between you speaking and the AI responding, that's gone from several seconds to less than a second.
Wow, that's a huge difference.
It is.
Yeah.
It makes you wonder where this is all headed.
Hmm.
Are we moving towards a future where we can have truly seamless conversations with AI assistants?
Like something out of a movie.
Maybe. And speaking of things that seem like they're straight out of a movie, you flagged an article about Figure AI's Helix robot.
Oh, yeah, Helix. Now things are starting to get really futuristic. Can you remind me what Helix is all about?
Imagine this. You come home with bags of groceries.
Okay.
Instead of putting everything away yourself, you just say, "Hey, Helix, put the milk in the fridge, the bread on the counter, and the apples in the fruit bowl." And it just does.
That's pretty impressive. How does it know where everything goes? Does it need a map of your house and a list of your groceries?
That's the amazing thing about Helix. It can handle unfamiliar objects and environments.
Really?
It combines these large language models for understanding instructions with smaller, faster models for controlling its movements. And it's designed to learn new tasks really quickly with very little training data.
So it's not just a cool tech demo. This is a robot that could actually be useful in a real home.
That's the goal. And it's the big step towards a future where robots are seamlessly integrated into our lives,
Helping us with everyday tasks.
freeing up our time for more important things.
Well, I, for one, welcome our helpful robot overlords. Okay, so we've got voice AI getting smarter robots that can unpack groceries, Anything else we should be paying attention to?
There's one more development I wanted to highlight that could have a huge impact, especially in the world of finance and investing. Crunchbase, the platform that tracks startups and investment activity, has developed an AI that claims to predict startup success with 95% accuracy.
95%, that's a bold claim.
It is. How do they do it? Traditionally, venture capitalists and investors, they've relied on historical data to make decisions.
Right, looking at things like the founder's experience, the size of the market past funding rounds.
Exactly. But Crunchbase's AI is taking a different approach.
So instead of just crunching the numbers, it's looking for those patterns and signals that humans might miss.
Precisely. It's using machine learning to identify those subtle clues and make predictions based on a much wider range of factors. If this lives up to the hype, it could completely change how investment decisions are made.
Moving away from gut feelings and historical trends.
Towards AI-powered insights.
It's like having an AI venture capitalist that can spot the next unicorn company.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's a great way to put it. So we've covered a lot of ground here, from major model releases to under-the-radar developments.
Yeah, we have.
What stood out to you the most?
You know, one thing that I'm really fascinated by is this whole idea of AI augmentation. We talked about AI co-scientists, AI that can help us code more efficiently, even AI venture capitalists. It seems like the real power of AI lies in its ability to enhance human capabilities, not replace them.
I completely agree. And it raises some interesting questions.
Right, like what happens when humans and AI can work together seamlessly? What new possibilities does that open up?
Exactly. And that is a fantastic place to stop for now.
Welcome back to our deep dive. Before the break, we were talking about this idea of AI augmenting human capabilities.
Yeah, not just making us more efficient, but like you were saying, opening up whole new possibilities.
Exactly. We were just talking about Figure AI's Helix robot.
Right, and how it's kind of a step towards robots that can just blend right into our lives.
Right. And that got me thinking about all the other ways AI is breaking down the barriers between the physical world and the digital world.
Yeah, for sure.
Like we were talking about how voice AI is becoming so advanced.
Absolutely. We were discussing how pre-response technology is making those interactions feel so much more natural.
Right. And it's not just the speed, it's the level of understanding.
You got it. We're not just barking orders at a smart speaker anymore. It's like we're having real conversations with AI that understands the context, the nuance, even what we might say next.
Exactly. Makes you wonder if we're on the verge of a world where voice is the main way we interact with technology.
Interesting thought.
Yeah.
No more typing.
Yeah.
No more swiping. Just talking to our devices like we'd talk to another person.
Yeah. Crazy, right? And it's not just voice AI that's changing things. You also brought up how LLMs are about to replace those old OCR solutions.
Right. And I have to admit, I was skeptical at first.
Me too. OCR has been around forever, but it's always been kind of a pain to use.
Yeah, unreliable.
How are LLMs actually making it better?
Well, remember those multimodal LLMs we talked about? They can process and understand information from different sources, like text and images at the same time.
Ah.
So that means they can read text from images way more accurately and efficiently than that old OCR software.
So it's not just recognizing the letters, it's actually understanding the meaning of the text in the picture.
Exactly. And that's a huge difference.
It really is.
Right.
Like giving computers superhuman vision.
Yeah, kind of. But you know, thinking back to the big picture, one thing that stood out to me from everything you sent over was the sheer amount of money being invested in AI infrastructure.
Oh, yeah. It feels like every big tech company is pouring money into it.
It's a gold rush. Where do you think all this investment is going to take us? What's next?
That's what I want to know. We've seen amazing progress just in the last few months,
We have.
but it feels like we're just getting started.
It does. And that's what's so exciting. It's like we're watching a tech revolution happen right before our eyes, and we have no idea where it's going to lead.
It's a little scary, but mostly exciting.
I agree. And that's why it's more important than ever to stay informed and keep asking questions.
And have these conversations about what it all means.
Exactly. This deep dive was just the beginning. Keep learning. Keep exploring. The future of AI is being written right now, and we all have a part to play in shaping it.
Well said. And if this deep dive has sparked your curiosity, we want to hear from you. Share your thoughts, questions, and predictions with us on platform. Until next time, stay curious.